As I said before, my name is Aria Chambers. I'm the marketing specialist with Banks Industrial Group. Here with me today, I have Ajay Patel, our business development manager, Steve Swartz, who's our technical consultant, and Park Rahaley, who is the Northeast Territory sales manager with ErectaStep, the manufacturer of one of the modular series you'll see later on in this presentation. For today's webinar, we're going to go through the importance of stairway safety, OSHA versus IBC regulations, some think big applications that we've done in the past, and we'll end with a Q&A with panelists. On that note, I'll send it over to Ajay to get us started.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody, on this wonderful Thursday. I guess a lot of people around New Jersey. We've had some nice weather. I know Park down in South Carolina, you've been having some good weather too. We see that tan that you've been working on, so all good stuff. So appreciate the introduction, Aria. As Aria mentioned, we're going to have a few conversations today, but really to start off with, why are we even having this conversation? Why is stairway safety important? It's important because safety is always number one. And quite frankly, when it comes to safety and when it comes to stairways, 2 out of the 10 top OSHA citations that are out there, meaning OSHA comes in, they look at a facility, and then they start handing out citations which come with fines. You know, those issues are directly related to stairway, platform, and crossover safety. And so that's why this is a very important topic for us to discuss. Number 2, the top cause of all injuries in and out of the workplace, you guessed it, we've all heard it so many times, but it's worth saying again, slips, trips, and falls. And so many of these incidents are directly related to stairways, crossovers, and platform safety. And so what's most important to take away from this is that we're going to show you a lot of solutions that you can apply to help your facility get better. And the reason why you need to think about this is number 3. All of these issues, they're completely avoidable. If we put the right solutions in place, we can make sure that the people who are coming in and out of work every day, people going in and out of various environments, they are safe and their injuries are completely avoidable. So first thing we want to talk about are, what are the differences? What are the different types of platforms or stairway accesses that you will see on the market? There's really 2 of them, IBC and OSHA. And so when we talk about IBC and OSHA and why there's a difference, it's important to understand that the IBC applications are more in the commercial environments, while the OSHA applications are more in the industrial environments. And so this is why it's important. When you have a commercial environment, you're looking at an application where you might actually see children involved. You might have some older folks that are going to be visiting these areas. And when you have OSHA compliant, you're really looking at, hey, we're going to go to an oil refinery or a chemical plant or a warehouse. And you might not have, you certainly should not have, you know, those types of people, very, very young children, you know, in those areas. And so when you look at the differences, the first thing that stands out is look at the number of balusters that you're going to see on the IBC compliant staircase itself versus the OSHA. And this is here. Why? Because, you know, anybody who's got kids know that they pretty much just, you know, run off and do what they want. And the first thing they're going to want to do is say, hey, I'm going to climb through this. So, you know, the IBC compliant staircase is say, hey, no, we're not going to allow that to happen. Second, you know, you have 2 levels of handrails that stand out right away. And in fact, the handrail extends well beyond the bottom step. That way, your both feet are secure and to the ground, you're still holding onto a handrail. If you notice on the OSHA compliant, you're not going to have that. And again, why? Because you're not worried about children and holding a handrail. You're really looking at working age adults that are going to be utilizing this platform. And then finally, the IBC systems are their rise and run of their steps is pretty much a standard rise and a standard run. They're not going to really vary that much. However, with the OSHA compliant systems, even though in this picture it's very similar to the IBC, OSHA allows you to go from 0 to 90. So if you need to put in a system in place, whether it's a ramp, standard stairs, ship stairs, and as you get all the way up to ladders, the fact of the matter is OSHA allows you to utilize all of those degrees to access from one level to another level. So let's talk about the different application types that are out there. First, platforms. And what do we use platforms for? To access equipment that might be at a higher level than we're currently at. And what don't we want to do? We don't want to constantly have to build scaffold systems to help us access equipment that we work on frequently. We also don't want to bring a ladder, lean it against the equipment and climb up it and then work that way. Why? It's not safe. there's a safer way to do it. Platforms are a great application. So in this application, you can see that we have multiple vats. We've got some motors. We have an electrician that needs to get up to those motors. They simply climb up the steps and they know that they're working safely. In this second example, in this case, we've got some mechanical valves. It looks like there's some control valves. In this case, the mechanics can climb up those, bring their equipment with them, set it down on the platform, and get right to work. Modular, portable modules, and then also ladder applications. So with portable modules, oftentimes, well, they're really not portable. Oftentimes these modules get set and they become permanent. They don't come with stair access or platform access. And so one of the things you want to do is not bring in, a ladder to open up a panel. You don't want to work that way. What you want to do is you want to set up a permanent structure that's right next to it that is customizable to be able to fit the length, allow you to access all the different doors and work. With a ladder system, which is basically a stair that goes straight up and down, it allows you to access equipment that might be at a higher level in a tighter or small space, or maybe a stair isn't going to be something that'll work. Crossovers and walkways. So we see a lot of crossovers when it comes to commercial buildings. And where do we see them? On their roof. Why? Because roofs of commercial buildings have a lot of things going on, whether it's a knee wall, whether it's ductwork, whether it's piping, whether it's conduit. And really, you don't want people climbing over this equipment. You don't want them stepping on this equipment. So what do you want to do? You want to put in a good OSHA engineered crossover system in those applications. Walkways. So when we think about walkways, you want to think about, alleys. You want to get up in one alley, you want to get up over equipment, you want to get down another alley. So you want to think about industrial setting, maybe a wastewater treatment plant. We've got a lot of piping. Maybe you want to think about a manufacturing or a warehousing facility where they might have a lot of conveyor belts where you want to get up over and around them. Now, this is actually a really important topic, and I want to ask a quick question to everybody, which is how many of these in our audience today, how many of these do you see in your facility on a daily basis? And the reason why I ask that is, I've spent quite a few years in the industrial setting. I was in oil refineries pretty much most of my career, and I can't tell you the number of times where I've been asked to climb up a ladder, and then when I get to the top of the ladder, I unhook this chain, I get in there, I get on the other side of it. And the number of times where I've physically stood on the top, looked down and said, this little chain is going to be the only thing that gets in between me and, not going home that day. And so they are one of those types of applications where, there's a lot of, let's just say, nervousness in being around them. So, and this is something where OSHA is really starting to crack down on, and it's really important for you to know that, because when they come in now, and I talked about the citations earlier, they're looking for this. This is one of the main things that they're looking for. And so when they're looking at these chains and they're saying, hey, if you've got one of these, that's up to a $10,000 per application. So every time they see that, they could see 10 of these, that's $100,000. And so, this is just a very important topic. And I just got some results of that poll. And so 33% of you out there have at least 10 of these in your facility. Well, for every one of them, you got to think about $10,000. So what's the quick answer here? What can we do to help you with that? We've got a great product that's known as the Yellow Gate. So this Yellow Gate is 100% OSHA approved. It comes with the 200-pound point load. It comes with the reinforced load protection within the spring itself. The Yellow Gate itself is completely self-mounting, or not self-mounting, universal mounting. You can put it really on any application. It extends from 16 inches to 36 inches. So just something to think about. I can't talk about safety on crossovers and ladder systems without bringing it up. So I wanted to just share this with everybody. And again, putting one of these in is a lot less than $10,000 fine for each one of those gates that you'll end up seeing from OSHA if they come in for an inspection. And then in the case that you've got large equipment that needs to go in and out of your facility, we actually have a Yellow Gate. It's not meant to stop your tractors or whatever from falling into something. It's meant to prevent them from coming in and out as necessary. So let's get a little bit deeper into the solution for crossovers that we have. It's known as the ErectaStep solution. It is a pre-engineered 100% OSHA compliant product. It comes in 5 main parts. It comes with a 3x3 platform. It comes with a handrail that can be fixed or removed. It comes with a stair system that comes from between 1 and 6 steps. It has a platform support tower structure, and it comes with a ladder that also can incrementally go up just like the steps. And just as a side note, this platform support can also be adjusted in height depending how tall you go. And really, what can you do with this? Really anything you can imagine, any application you might have, as long as we have good dimensions, we're able to configure with any number of these components as necessary, as you show in some of the other pictures, as you'll see in a little bit. It's very easy to work with. So we have a special program where if we know roughly what you're trying to achieve, we can actually get you out engineered drawings rather quickly. We have the materials that we could turn around pretty quickly as well. Distance is not a problem. In fact, we have a project we're going to show you. It was in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and we're actually helping put together several platform systems, and it was very ideal because we could ship it down there. What was not ideal was we weren't able to go down there because our benefit is the fact that we don't actually have to always be there. So, that was a really good application to learn about. So, but what happens when, things aren't exactly the way they are, because that pretty much always happens whenever you're in a work environment. So you might have a valve that sticks out where your platform needs to be. You might need wider steps than is our standard. Maybe the entire design needs to sit higher than it's rated for. We can actually work around that. We can provide a custom hybrid solution for that as well. We also have portable systems, IBC and OSHA, and in these portable systems, if you've got a portable office building, a trailer, and you need to pull up next to it, and you need a stair system that needs to follow this, and you're always working with uneven ground, we have a great solution for that. And finally, I'm sure you've seen these either at Home Depot or Lowe's, where you've got the rolling ladder and you can roll it, you can get up top of it, it's got a little working platform, grab whatever you need, come on down, move it out of the way. And then a really unique application are these tractor trailers where you have a huge flatbed of equipment, you've got to pull away the stairs, and usually you build some scaffold there, but in this case you can keep one system, you can roll it in and out. It has these removable handrails if you need to offload things from the side. So just different areas where we've used the ErectaStep, warehousing, fulfillment centers. Oftentimes, like I mentioned earlier, they have conveyor belts, commercial buildings, crossover systems on the roof, industrial plants. You're talking about refineries, chemical plants, really any of those types of settings. We can help you get up and access different equipment, and finally manufacturing facilities. And so when you have conveyor belts, again, very similar to warehousing fulfillment, where you need to get up, over, and around safely in a robust and safe manner. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to my good friend here, Steve Schwartz. He is going to talk to you about the various applications that he has actually utilized in his career here. He is our in-house expert when it comes to ErectaStep, and he was the guy that wasn't able to go to the U.S. Virgin Islands. So he's going to say some of his projects with you, and I'll see you all later.
All right, thanks for the handoff, guys. Good morning to everyone. Today, I would like to talk about some projects, ErectaStep projects that we completed recently. Here we have an energy transfer station in Middletown, PA. The client contacted us because there was various areas around the site that they needed to get up, over, and around safely. On the left-hand side, you see some piping that they needed to cross over. So we supplied a standard crossover system. We also had supplied and poured the pads, the concrete pads, to act as the foundation for the crossovers, as well as to maintain compliance for the first riser. On the right-hand side, you see a full complement of our modular components. We have the handrails, the tower supports, the stairs, platforms, safety gates, and ladders. As you can see here, the client was able to access these control valves safely and efficiently, as well as access the confined space area in the piping system. This particular customer most valued the fact that the product was in stock and ready to ship out of our South Jersey location, as well as meeting all the OSHA compliances. Here we have a manufacturing plant in Newington, Connecticut. The customer contacted us looking for a platform system that would allow them to access the front and the side control panel area. This was a great example of a standard ErectaStep modular components coupled with a ErectaStep stair. Now, this particular stair here was wider than the conventional modular system. So we designed for their specifications, and it mounted right to the standard platform system. This particular customer appreciated the ease of assembly and also the fact that they were able to save on engineering and design time. Here we have a rooftop solar project in Belmar, New Jersey. We were contacted by an electrical contractor who was tasked to basically put all these components on the roof, cable trays that needed to get up and over safely. So we furnished them a two-step, two-platform system here on the left, you see here. And then on the right, we have a two-step, one-platform system. Now, for this customer, they most appreciated the modularity of the system, the fact that they were able to take each component individually up a stair and erect it in place, assemble it in place. They also appreciated the aesthetics of the unit and how it kind of flowed with what was already up there, all the rest of the components on the roof. Here we have a oil refinery upgrade in the U.S. Virgin Islands. This is the job that AJ had spoke of. We engaged our engineering partner regarding a problem that their client had. Basically, they had these, you see on the left-hand side here, we have these wooden platforms. They were not in compliance. They were degrading. They just weren't safe. As this oil refinery got upgraded and back online, they needed to obviously look at the safety areas and the areas of egress. So initially, the customer wanted to just have a local fabricator fabricate the platforms that they needed. But the concern was that there was going to be so many of these platforms in such a short period of time. Also, the fact that it was very important that the systems were corrosion resistant, obviously due to the fact that they're surrounded by salt water. So they gave us the opportunity to build the first one, the supply, and for them to assemble the first one. As you can see here, this is the system. It's comprised of standard components. We have some half rails here. What you can't see underneath is we actually designed a universal offset tower support to navigate some of the piping systems underneath the platform, as well as some knee braces for platforms that were unsupported. I'm happy to say that the customer was very happy with the outcome. They felt very comfortable with the assembly. Actually, it went a lot smoother than we even anticipated, not being there. And it looks like they're going to commit to many of these platforms over the next year. In addition to the availability and the corrosion resistance, they also spoke about the perforated non-skid surface on the platform as well. For when it rains, it doesn't allow water to puddle up and promote any slips and falls. Here we have a sports training facility in Florham Park, New Jersey. The customer contacted us concerning, how they get their clients from the ground level here to the lower training turf level. Now, this happened basically at the heart of the COVID period, so they couldn't train anybody indoors. They did have a grand opening, which was 14 days from the time that they contacted us. We were able to supply them within 10 days on site and assembled a IBC compliant system. Now, as AJ alluded to earlier, in this case, the IBC compliance was important because they were going to have children and adults use these stairs on a daily basis. What you can't see in this picture is that when we erected the system, there was a gap between where the platform ended and the slope wall started. You can't really see it. Maybe on this side you can see it, but there is a slope here. So what we did was we just made a diamond plate, a 1 foot by 4 foot piece, powder coated it yellow. It flowed right into the design, and it allowed them to bridge from the walking surface onto the stair. Here we have a food processing plant in Chatsworth, New Jersey. On the left-hand side, you see the dilemma the customer had. As folks would come out of this door into the loading dock area, they would filter right into where the trucks would back up. So what they decided to do was they asked if we could fabricate a closure for here, which we did. And on the right-hand picture, you'll see a closure that we fabricated here on the top of the stair. What the customer did was they changed the door to a right opening door. So we have exit stage left right onto our OSHA compliant portable stair unit. The customer really appreciated the fact that we could turn this around within 2 weeks. The fact that the system just flows into their existing rail system, and that it meets all the OSHA compliances as well. Here we have a restaurant AirBnB in Philadelphia, PA. This restaurant actually had 2 apartments on the second level. They wanted to rent out these apartments as Airbnbs, but they couldn't do it until they had a safe and an efficient way for their clients to get to those spots. So these pictures actually don't really do any justice. The stairs are worse than they look. But so, they were unsafe, and they were and just unsightly. So we arrived on site. We took all the dimensions. We designed a stair to oversized platform. We actually made it so that they could have a seating area for their clients. We also provided a second means of egress here. There's a fixed ladder and one of our yellow gates. For this particular customer, it was all about safety and aesthetics. The aesthetics were beautiful. They really liked the two-tone that we came up here with, and the powder-coated finish, as well as the fact that we were able to execute this project within 7 weeks from the moment they initially contacted us. Here we have a pharmaceutical plant in Conshohocken, PA. We were engaged by another one of our engineering partners to solve a problem for one of their clients. As you can see on the left-hand side here, this is the original step system. It was made of Trex. It was supported by wood. And the major issue was this. As you can see here, you see this tape. You have all this non-skid tape. Well, that was their Band-Aids they put on these, because they had folks just continue to slip and fall, when it would get wet, or if it even snowed. So what we did was we basically came up with a similar design, but out of powder-coated steel. And the major change here was the perforated stair tread. So basically, we went with the same perforations that we have on the modular system. So if it snows, this is in the Northeast, so if it's going to snow, it's going to rain a lot. So it's important that all that precipitation weeps through these holes and it doesn't puddle up. In addition to this, we also we bolstered the support structure as well, which they ended up just covering up with rocks. They really liked the finish, the powder-coated finish, and the fact that it met all the IBC compliances. Here we have a yacht and racing club in Pensacola, Florida. Like the last 2 slides, this is an IBC compliant commercial series, but this is what we would consider our readily available stock series. So as you can see here, the customer needed to get from the ground level to the second level, which was their offices. They were using stacked containers here. Now these stock commercial series, they come in 2-foot increments. So as you can see, what the customer did, they were able to get something that was basically within stock. Only you're talking about 5 weeks complete lead time, and they just bolstered the height to meet the top of platform height by a foot, and they were still able to maintain the first riser compliance. This customer loved the fact that they could put it together themselves, so much so that they ordered a few more of these for another location in New England. Here we have a gas-powered steam plant in Jessup, PA. We were contacted by a mechanical contractor who was tasked with changing out all the safety gates and chains. As Ajay had mentioned earlier, this is a major compliance issue that's finable. So if you see here the yellow gate, the reason why they picked the yellow gate is for obvious reasons. The fact that it goes from 16 inches to 36 inches. And it's basically one stop. It's a one-shop stop for them. They purchased one yellow gate and they could fit in any opening. So this particular opening, you see, is probably open to probably around 30 inches. But there are some smaller openings and some wider openings. In addition to the opening universal aspect of it, it also has the universal mounting system. It allows us to mount to a flat wall, to a round tube, or to a square tubing. The customer for this particular job, they ordered over 50 of these at one time, and I was just contacted by them. They're looking for 15 or 20 more over the next week. Here we have a car wash in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Our customer contacted us looking for a way of blocking off these, there's two 24-foot sections here. So what we came up with is we came up with the XL yellow gate. The XL yellow gate, when it's fully extended, is 12 feet. So placing two 12-foot sections face to face will close off the 24-foot section. Now the customer appreciated two aspects of the yellow gate. One was the ease of installation, but also for their customer, for their client, was the ease of operation. You look at these yellow gates, they look heavy and cumbersome. They're really not. One person with one hand can raise and lower it very easily. Well, that brings us to a very notable project that we furnished and installed 3 platform systems, 90 feet, and this is the ISO picture of it. So you had 3 of these that we installed for a national fulfillment company in New England. Now this is gives you a good picture of the system in place as we designed it. Now I want to add that this happened during the holiday period, so anybody that's ordering from these fulfillment centers knows that they're very busy. They can't really deal with any kind of downtime. They're already behind on shipping times and whatnot. So we were able to execute this during a very, very busy period for them. And if you see the conveyor system here, this conveyor actually retracts and it advances into the truck. When it's fully advanced, it's very hard to get up, over, and around this safely. So not only were they having issues with getting over the conveyors, but also just moving employees, at break time or just throughout the day efficiently. So we were able to, like I said before, supply 3 90-foot sections. This shows you the stair and the tower. Actually, while we were on site as well, there were a few changes that need to be made that the client was unaware of until we showed up and started putting it together. Luckily, because we typically will bring extra components, we were able to work around those obstructions without halting progress or even having to order parts in. So basically, it took 42 days from the initial inquiry for us to execute this project. But half of that time, 21 days, was waiting on their PO, and 5 days of total installation time. Now, I might add also the fact that this happened during a blizzard. It was a snowstorm. We actually used that to our advantage because the fact that they didn't have employees around the work area, we were able to just hunker down and really get this done and be efficient. And I mean, the customer was ecstatic, the fact that we were able to get them up much quicker than anticipated. Since that time, we've engaged this customer at numerous locations for some platforms and crossovers. They continue to be a valued customer of ours. All right, well, I appreciate all your time today, and I hope you have a great day. And I want to send it back to Aria for our Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. At this time, I'd like to thank both Steve and AJ for a great presentation. I'm launching a poll right now. If you would like to have a representative reach out to you for more information particularly, please select yes, and I'll make sure that they receive your email so that they can reach out to you. Everyone will receive a follow-up email to this webinar, and it'll have a bunch of resources for ErectaStep solutions as well as other Think Big solutions. And I'm going to give you guys a second to answer that poll. If you would like more resources for any Think Big solutions, please visit our website at banksindustrial.com. You will receive a follow-up email with contact information for the panelists that have joined us today. I would like to welcome Park back to the screen. Thank you for joining us today. And let's get started with this first question. Thank you guys for sending in questions so quickly. AJ, how quickly can one of these crossovers be erected?
So that's a great question. So let's start off with more on the basic side. The more complicated the system, obviously it's going to take a little bit longer. It's going to take a little bit longer to put together, to get the order together, to get it shipped out, and then to assemble it, right? But for a basic crossover system, it might be like 4 steps up, 2 platforms over, a couple steps down. Let's talk about that. If we generally know the dimensions that you need, you send us a picture, or maybe we'll come out and we take a look at it. Utilizing our proprietary software, we can actually go ahead and design that pretty quickly. It can happen in minutes, actually. And from that design work, we're actually able to turn around and get you a quote nearly instantaneously. And then at that point, it's going to be up to you to trigger and say, hey, let's go ahead and do it. So let's say you go ahead, you get that purchase order to us relatively quickly. We have most of these components sitting in our warehouse locally. We can go ahead and ship it out to you. So, you know, that generally, let's say 24 hours for that. Once it arrives on site, they're very easy to assemble, and that should happen within a few hours, really. So if you're looking at it, maybe 2 to 3 days for the whole life cycle, if it goes optimally, but really for something that simple, it shouldn't take very long at all. As you get more complicated, obviously more materials, the timeline might extend out, but you know, it can happen relatively quick under those circumstances as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome so much.
We got it. Got a couple more questions coming through. Second question, could you please speak to the areas where ErectaStep is, and more particularly where ErectaStep might not be the best solution? Park, would you like to take that?
Oh, absolutely. That's a great question. It's much easier to define or point out where ErectaStep modular pre-engineered product cannot be used, and that is in food packaging, and where it needs to be very clean. There's a wash down every day because of our design with the angles and the lips of the platform and the hollow handrails. What tends to happen is then bacteria can stay in there and not be washed down. So pre and post packaging in food industry, and then pretty much anywhere from NASA to gain access to their capsules we are used, to high-end hotels in Las Vegas use our MP series to, believe it or not, get lobsters out of their tank safely for their workers after they saw us at a trade show in Las Vegas, and they had an incident where somebody fell on a ladder. So anywhere you need to get up, over, around safely, that's where we can be used.
Great, thank you so much, Park. And another question we have here, Steve, I'm going to send this to you. If someone has a situation where, say, a forklift might hit a stair and damage one of those stairs, is it the case that you would need to buy a completely new unit? What would they do in that situation?
Well, you know, one of the added features of our system is the modularity of it, and the fact that it's repurposable and replaceable. So if you damage a component, all you have to do is just unbolt it and just replace it. Now let's think about somebody who fabricates a crossover just from one piece of steel, or it's a welded piece. You know, if you damage it, your base that becomes on the scrap heap. So that's another main advantage of our product, is the fact that it can be repurposed, it can be replaced and repaired very easily.
Great, thank you. This one's pretty particular. What if I need an engineering stamp for my facility? I'm going to toss that up to the group.
So you want to take it, Park?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
We have the ability to provide a engineer stamp for the location and the state it's located in, depending on if it's custom or if it's standard. Remember, if you look over Steve's left shoulder on that pop-up there, you can see that we are a pre-engineered product, and we bake all the compliance. Thank you, Steve. We bake all the compliance into each component. So when you put together a configuration, no matter what it is, following our engineering rules, you will be in compliance no matter what. If you need loads and reactions, we have the ability to provide that. We can provide the engineering stamp, wind loads, snow loads, everything you need right out of the box, because it is a pre-engineered product. You're not waiting for an engineering firm to draw it up and provide you. You know, time is of the essence when an incident occurs or you need to provide safe access. That's where our product really strives and helps you out at your facility.
If I can add one other point to that, if you remember the project that Steve had mentioned at the very end, the very large one that we turned around for that customer, actually they had a preferred engineering group that they wanted to have seal it off, and we were actually able to send them the drawing straight right away, get that stamped off. So we can provide it, as Park mentioned, or if you have a preferred engineer, we can coordinate with them as well.
Along those lines, the question was asked, how long do I need to wait for a quote on ErectaStep? And similarly, when can I expect engineered drawings?
So again, if you go back to the kind of the time frame that I mentioned, if you have a simple crossover system and we're able to get dimensions for what you're trying to cross over or where you're at, or we can come out and look at it, I mean, we can literally have it to you within minutes. But again, as complexity increases, that timing is going to increase as well. But as we put the system together in our proprietary software, it actually automatically produces all of the engineered drawings that you're going to require. So as quick as a few minutes, but maybe a little bit longer depending on the complexity of your job.
Thank you. Steve, I'm going to send this question over to you. How hard is it to mount these units on a roof, and do I need a crane to get the parts to the roof?
Oh, that's a great, it's one of the slides that I had was a rooftop application. So no, because they're modular, you can carry all of these components individually up to the rooftop and then assemble it in place. We have had customers that have cranes on site and would prefer us to actually assemble on the ground and then pick it. But in most cases, people don't want to have to deal with the time and the money that it costs to actually procure a crane to do that.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Yeah, if I could just add one other little detail. So the reason why you can carry it up the steps is because it's actually aluminum, so it's relatively lightweight as well.
Awesome, we like lightweight. We just had one question come in that asks, what is the cost point compared to traditional welded steel platforms and ladders?
So that's a really, really great question. And so when we talk about the pricing that you're going to look at for ErectaStep versus your traditional, we're going to have it fabricated platforms, you have to think about the cumulative cost of that. So what does that mean? If you want to have an OSHA approved platform that you want to have fabricated for your custom application, number one, you're going to have to go and bring in an engineer. So there's going to be an upfront cost associated with that. Number two, you're going to have to bring in all those materials, and then you're going to have to hire the trades. You're going to have to hire a welder to put it together. You're going to have to hire somebody to ship it to your site, or you're going to have the materials there and bring the welder there. Three, you're going to have iron workers and riggers to pick it up and put it where you want. And then in the event that the untold ever happens, which is it doesn't actually fit as the drawings, as we all know happens every single time you do a project, you're going to have to bring in the same fabricator to go ahead and make those adjustments as needed and to make it to be put in place. With the ErectaStep, you've already taken care of the engineering. We already talked about how lightweight it is. You don't necessarily need to bring in iron workers and riggers to move it. And in order to assemble it, you need two folks and a wrench, 5/8 inch bolts, and they can put this together on their own. If there's a field adjustment that's needed, we can simply just send out the materials that are necessary for that. So when you put both of those together, including then the lead time necessary to get the engineered drawings, source the fabrication materials, fabricate, place on site, and install versus how we do it, you're also going to see a much, much faster turnaround time. Theirs might be months, ours could be a few days to maybe a few weeks. And at that point, the price point becomes not only competitive, but probably with a substantial savings.
Yeah, one of the things, if I personalize one thing, Aria, so,
Sure.
and this is a misconception some people have when you say it's aluminum and it's lightweight. Anybody that's seen the ErectaStep product knows that it's not like, it's very rugged. It might be lighter than steel, but it's very well put together. And our clients really like the fact that it's sturdy, and all the components they exceed all the OSHA compliances, and it doesn't rock or anything. So
I spent 10 years in an oil refinery. I've stood on many platforms. I've climbed many ladders, and I will tell you from my own personal experience, many of those systems that are out there, they, let's just say, don't make you feel very safe. And I've spent time on ErectaStep systems, and I've felt plenty safe and been very happy to be on them instead of some of the alternatives out there.
Thank you. So at this time, we're going to wrap up. I'd like to thank everybody for attending. Please look out for a follow-up email with contact information as well as resources that include videos showing the ease of application for these units and some other resources. Thank you again, and thank you everybody for the panelists for joining. I will see you next time.
See ya.